Yes, so I'm a retired professor, so what you know about me is that I spent my entire career establishing and maintaining my expertise in my field. But in my personal life, I took an entirely different tack, and I tried to do as many things as I could that I knew nothing about. And it was hard because you put yourself out there and you know nothing, you're ignorant, you're incompetent, you're awkward, inept. And it's a challenge, and yet I've learned a number of lessons in the experiences that I've had over the years. One of which is that you don't have to look the part to do the part. When I was in my early 20s, a friend and I decided that we'd start taking adult beginner ballet lessons as a kind of fun way to work out. And it was great. We did it for a while, and we even had learned a few steps and certainly got a workout. Nowadays, of course, it's called a bar program, but in those days, it was just plain old ballet. And it was great until the night that I dislocated my knee in one of the classes. And so when I got to the hospital, and the ER doctor looked at me, and he saw me in my leotard, my tights, and my ballet slippers, and he said, "You don't look like a ballet dancer." Well, no, I wasn't, and I wasn't trying to be. I was just there to do the work. So another lesson I've learned in my career as an adult amateur is not to let the skeptics discourage me. About 15 years ago, I was attending an academic conference in Hawaii, and I decided I wanted to try surfing. So I signed up for a surf lesson with a local surfing club. And the deal was they'd send a van around to the various hotels where people had signed up to take the lesson, and they brought us all down to the beach. So we were picking up at one hotel, and as a young woman was getting into the van, she looked up at me and she said, "Are you taking a surfing lesson?" And I looked back at her and said, "Yes, are you?" And all I could think of was that, why wouldn't I be taking a surfing lesson? I was a little bit insulted, but anyways, we were all beginners. We all looked awkward, but in the end, we did it, and we had a whole lot of fun doing it. Another thing I know about being an adult amateur is that we like to stay and do things that we're already familiar with, things that we're good at. So we tend to stay in our own safety zone. One of the things I've learned, though, is if I do scary things, I can really stretch myself. I learned this when I took up horseback riding in my 40s. Now, this started from the same daughter who's caused me to be here. When she was 7, she started taking jumper riding lessons at a local stable, and 6 months later, her older sister, who was 9, decided, I don't want to sit around and watch her do it, so I might as well join in. Well, 2 years later, made the same decision. I thought, I might give this a try. But let me tell you, it was terrifying. I hadn't ridden as a child. I hadn't been around horses. So it was a big stretch for me. But over years of coaching, I've learned, and I'm right now a fairly confident rider. One of the other things I've learned is the relationship between participation and success. I started doing modern pentathlons when I was in my 50s, or 60s, I should say. And so pentathlon it's swimming, fencing, running, shooting, like in a biathlon, and horseback riding. Well, I had 3 of them already, and I was really attracted to the idea of learning to shoot a laser pistol and fence. So I started to do that, and early on, I had success. I was winning medals, and I thought, this isn't right. And then I realized that, in fact, it's a pretty niche sport. So there wasn't a lot of competition with people in my age group. But I sort of rethought it after this past summer's provincial competition in Calgary, because I realized that there were only 6 of us in the competition who did all 5 events. But there were 30 other athletes who chose not to do the horseback riding. So I thought, well, maybe I should consider my participation as an accomplishment in itself. But the other lesson I've learned is the value of surrounding myself by inspiring people. I have fallen in love with fencing. After all, who wouldn't? It's like sword fighting. So I've, I've joined, but it's a difficult sport. It's probably one of the hardest that I've ever done because it's physical, but it's also highly technical. But I joined a local fencing club, and it's a veterans fencing club. And what you need to know about, this is my practice dummy I made at home. It's a group of fencers who are over the age of 40. But what you have to know about veteran fencers is if they're over the age of 40 or 50 in their 60s, they've been doing it for 20, 30, or 40 years. These people are really good. I look really awkward next to them. But as was mentioned, I did have the good fortune to qualify for the Canadian team for the World Veterans Fencing Championship in Livorno last year. And it was the most amazing experience. There were hundreds of fencers from all over the world. There were people there who had won Olympic medals in fencing. I did not do well, but I had a fabulous time. It was really great. And I'm hoping to qualify for next year's event in Croatia because I'm going to age up and I get to fence with the 70-plus people next year. So, thank you. So I encourage all of you, try things you don't know how to do. It'll be hard at first, but with practice and the help of others, it gets easier. And I can guarantee you that you'll meet the most amazing people along the way. So whatever it is, if it's chess or cooking or, no, you should try fencing. It's the best. So it's been a terrific journey, and I've had a lot of fun. Thank you very much.